2011, 45% of recent grads were living with their mom and dad, which is 45% higher than 10 years ago. The report by a Pew researcher who probably lives with his mother finds that if you expand the age range, it's even worse. About 60% more 18 to 34-year-olds were holed up with their families than 10 years prior. So I guess the scientists were right. 30 is the new 12. Theories abound. Young people now perceive menial jobs as beneath them, thanks to an administration that mocks burger flipping. Far better to drink Keystone than to work on one. Slacking beats fracking, says our president. But sadly, not everyone can find placement as a community organizer. And so the stigma of living at home in your early 30s has been replaced with a stigma far worse, not voting for Obama in your early 20s. What did that vote get you exactly? Your same old twin bed, health insurance you don't need, no job, no future, and a world of debt. Yep, how little is a college education worth if it can't get you out of the nest? The ease by which you could get a loan allowed colleges to jack up tuitions to where countless grads are paying off degrees that taught them nothing more than, you got it, community organizing. Just what we need, 1 million graduates majoring in Sandra Fluck's studies, putting off adulthood for another decade. Well, at least Mom and Dad have HBO. You can watch 10 episodes of Girls in a row. Beats work. Andrew, you shocked. Perhaps even outraged to learn how many people are living at home. I had no idea.
I still can't believe it, Greg. It's amazing. This is so sad. It's really, really sad. I actually can't believe that a lot of them voted for President Obama. I hope it's a wake-up call for them. But it's not all bad, and I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for saying this, but I wrote a column in the New York Daily News about 2 years ago when young people were beginning to get really hit by the recession. I think this is actually a decent thing. The everybody gets a trophy generation now has to go out and get jobs at Quiznos. They're humbled. They can make sandwiches. They can work in movie theaters. It's teaching them responsibility. A lot of them come out of college feeling entitled, brainwashed, as you pointed out, by weird courses like the history of garbage. It's a real course, by the way.
Yeah.
And they have to actually work. They're not entitled. Yeah. They get humbled a little bit. It's good for everybody.
Bob, I lived at home. I graduated, then I worked for a year, then I came back and lived at home. I actually really liked living at home. Is there something positive and heartwarming about it?
Well, I mean, I couldn't go back home to that joint where I grew up. And I thought you still did live at home.
I do. Well, yeah. I lived in a home.
And you worked from home.
And the idea of blaming Obama for this is just outrageous.
But it's fun.
I know it's fun. You want to do it, you go ahead and do it. But when he took office, we were bleeding 700,000 jobs a month.
The unemployment rate's higher than when he took office.
Here's the point. It's true. There are not a lot of good jobs out there. There are not a lot of ways. You can't live on working at Quiznos. You can't.
I moved home after college because I couldn't find a job, and I had to waitress, but I worked really hard to find one. It took a while.
Well, for you.
And you know what? They have to do it too. It stinks, but you know what? It's life.
But they're going to take jobs like that. They're going to have to live at home because they can't start. They can't get apartments. They can't do all that stuff.
I know, it stinks.
So it is a rough economy for people coming out of college, and this is an end result of it. And by the way, I'm not so sure it's so bad all the way around. I mean, you know, you don't have the empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
That bums people out.
EB, you know, in other countries, families that stay together are a good thing. Italy, for example, has 16 generations living in one house.
Yeah. Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You haven't lived at home. I think you should live at home. I would love my son if he needs to live at home, stay at home.
But he's only 14.
But right. But Bob, you pointed something out in the A block. You said, well, personal incomes are down 3.6%, largely due to the payroll tax increase. Right. So taxes go up, personal income goes down. But you said that kids living at home has nothing to do with President Obama. Mm-hmm. He's the one who instituted or took the payroll tax holiday out and raised taxes. How is it not his fault?
Well, I mean, this has been going on before a month ago, when those payroll tax cuts took effect, or 2 months ago. So you can't say that this is something that just happened.
With the trend,
didn't you go from 10%
do we not have a big discussion about trends today?
Yeah, but
what's the trend?
Well, the trend is obviously up, but the question is, isn't it been pretty heavy in the last 3 years?
Yeah, but the trend, we're going in the wrong direction. If you take more personal, if you take more income out of people's pockets,
and when
they're going to have to live at home.
You're going free market starts to create some jobs, then we'll see them go by.
Dana, isn't the real problem here is the solution so far has just been to spread the wealth around, tax, as opposed to building, creating more taxpayers or building wealth?
Right, so there's two ways of looking at it. You could say, okay, these young people don't have jobs, so let's look at a way that the government could help them more. Or there's another way to look at it to say, how is the government holding them back? Mm-hmm. And I think that the second question is the one that's how I would look at it. The growth in this country is at 0.1%, which is barely keeping up with inflation, as we saw from those numbers. And at some point, if the administration can't have it both ways, that if the recession ended as soon as President Obama came to office, or 4 months later, if that recession ended then, okay, at what point does he have to take any responsibility for a lagging economy? At what point does he have to take responsibility for some unemployment? You cannot blame Bush for both things.
Yeah.
For that much longer, and hopefully the tax reform piece that I mentioned and the Keystone Pipeline gets pushed forward so that these young kids.
Well, he obviously took responsibility for what he won before the voters after 4 years, and they realized.
Wait. He didn't take responsibility. He blamed Bush, and now going forward, he'll blame the sequester.
And you're telling me that in 2012, the President of the United States did not suffer at the polls because of the economy?
Let's see.
Still
Can we
won
play the
because he
tape
beat
of
that-
you
because he
gloating
beat that
every?
shallow, hollow party of yours?
Can we? Okay, you don't need to throw insults, Bob. This is what you do when you get on your heels. You sat here and
My heels.
celebrated the fact that President Obama, you said every day, he whooped it. We won. Get over it, guys. Okay. Again, you can't have it both ways.
I'm not trying to have
Now
it.
it's the
I'm saying
sequester's
that
fault,
The
I guess.
economy was very clearly there, and people do it, and they still reelected the President of the United States.
Okay, so here's the reality. It has nothing to do with President Obama. Bob, recessions last between 18 and 24 months on average. This one lasted technically about 30 months. And if you add into the almost a negative growth last quarter, you can make an argument for a 4-year recession.
Well, okay.
But see, they'll never say that they have any responsibility and they don't do anything about it. They're just like, not our fault. Can we go to Hollywood now?
But that just because you say that doesn't mean voters don't perceive it.
All right. Let's move on, shall we? Directly ahead, basketball has-been and celebrity tumbleweed. Dennis Rodman holds court in North